Alright everyone, since the two topics overlap heavily, I'm just going to compress them into one video for the sake of time, and for the sake of not... uploading 5 videos in a day is slightly excessive. I think 4 is the right level. I was doing 3 every day, and then for a while 5, and then I'm like, yeah, but there's a declining rate of return, 4, it makes more sense. So again, I'm talking about Manafort being put in prison, my thoughts about that, and then these FBI texts, because we've actually, as people dug through the IG report, they found that there were a bunch of other biased individuals at the FBI. It's not just Lisa Page and her anal buddy. It also involves other individuals. It involves at least 5 unnamed agents. They're not the subject to any investigation, so they're not named. They're redacted in the report. They're just like agent number 1 and FBI attorney number 2 and stuff. It's like the conversations that they're having are surreal. It's surreal to think that the FBI's hiring practices do not involve screening out individuals likely to engage in this kind of behavior. You have an FBI investigation into the Clinton email thing, and at least a half a dozen people directly involved with that investigation have clear and continuous political bias, and their texts end up literally in a fucking DOJ watchdog report because they're considered significant enough to put it there. It's almost like Horowitz realized, like, yeah, she's gonna get away with it once again. I don't want the FBI to disappear me or something, so I'm gonna water my report down, but I'm gonna make sure to include these texts. I'm going to insinuate Comey was insubordinate and was okay to fire him, but there was no political bias. Don't worry about it. Don't throw him in jail. I'm not going to recommend that, Congress headhunt after him anymore. I'm just going to make life difficult for the FBI scandal in general and the Clintonian Democrats. You look at this and they're like saying, one of the texts was to the effect of, well, we will stop Trump. This was between Page and her dude. Whose name, I call him Sturzak. I know that's not how it's pronounced, but it's like, fuck it, I don't care. You look at the name, that's how it looks. It's a really funny last name. I have no clue where it's from at all. So first you've got that. That layer of it is basically, will Trump win? Oh no, I'm so scared. It's like, no, we'll stop him, don't worry. It's like, some people are calling this the smoking gun, that there was a direct FBI plot to stop Trump, and still is. I think of it more as hey, here's an individual who's like a desperate Democratic partisan, and then this other person's like, oh no, look at the polling, Trump's going to get crushed. And of course that was wrong. But unless I assume a mass sort of situation that didn't even pan out, like an FBI plot to stop Trump, well then why didn't they stop him? If they had some inside knowledge about how to do that and there was a high-level plot, they probably would have prevailed against him. It looks more like Peter there was just, looking at the polls, and he had rose-colored glasses when it came to the sampling bias that should have been entirely obvious in many of these states. And much like the rest of the United States, the FBI agents there thought the same polls were true, because these people were morons, basically. Then we find out, this is funny, one unnamed FBI agent talking to an FBI attorney saying, well, Trump supporters are all lazy, uneducated pieces of shit. Literally, that's a quote from him. Okay, so now you have people working at the FBI who think that tens of millions of the Americans they're sworn to defend are pieces of shit. They're like uneducated and they believe lies and they're just stupid. That doesn't say very good things about the FBI if this is the way that these agents are thinking. Now, of course, this is just a handful of the people that work at the FBI, but this is a pretty good sampling of people that worked specifically on the Clinton email case. Yeah, you have 7 different individuals at least, plus a couple FBI attorneys engaging in this kind of banter. That's significant. I would think that it'd be significant. The FBI probably should have fixed who was working on the case to make sure that it was a bunch of apolitical people. Wouldn't you think that would be a different idea? Wouldn't you think it would be better than having apparently a bunch of people who just fucking desperately hate Trump working on a case against his opponent? Now, in all honesty, I never expected Clinton to face any justice for her obvious crime, and when Comey came out, he laid it out for you. He told the American people, I mentioned this after his press release. During his press release, like, yeah, Clinton broke the law. She should have known better. She's, disgraced herself, basically. But I'm not going to recommend charges because, no prosecutor is going to be able to make the charges stick. Which is, by the way, absolutely true. You think you can prosecute a Clinton for wrongdoing? No, Hillary Clinton could, wipe her ass with the flag and then hang several babies with it. And it wouldn't, she wouldn't get in any trouble. Oh, she just had a conniption fit. She was temporarily insane. Suspended sentence of 30 days. Do some community service. It's okay. You know, they would have been aborted anyway by Hillary using her teeth. No. No, and as far as Manafort, let's talk about that. The Manafort case, this is the third time that people in the Democratic Party have gotten a big dick about the Manafort thing. I keep trying to warn them. You're drumming up charges that make no sense in relation to Trump and collusion with Russia. You're talking about an initial charge against Manafort that, by the way, may not even stick. He really screwed himself with obstruction, by the way. Now, because the initial charges, there's like a 50-50 chance that they even actually result in anything towards Manafort by the probe. The probe's like, oh, we're indicting you on money laundering charges. A federal judge has already looked at that and said, well, the method by which this data was gathered may itself be illegal. I may have to throw out the charges altogether. By the way, I need this sealed Rosenstein memo that was given to Mueller, the confidential one. You have 13 days to give it to me. Remember that? That was about 2 weeks ago. I think they handed it over. I guess he decided not to entirely destroy the case against Manafort, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. Manafort's still fighting those charges. They put Manafort, by the way, in jail for violating the conditions of his bail. I happen to completely agree with the decision to put him in jail for this. Now, some people who are like Trump fans are like, well, they're just going to try to make him crack in prison. Well, he's Paul Manafort. He's not going to your local dive prison to be with Big Bubba and Shankman. He's going to like federal holding cell. It's like the cushy, the Holiday Inn of prisons, basically. He's going to be in a multi-room sort of low security facility. They don't have to worry about somebody like Paul Manafort running. So no, they're not putting him in Maxi or something. They're not sending him off to Gitmo. Exactly. I don't expect that to happen. But the thing is, Manafort did obstruct justice. He attempted to tamper with witnesses in the case. Despite the fact that he had the upper hand, I mean, it was a dumb thing to do. But the initial charges relate to 10 years ago. He worked with Tony Podesta and the Podesta Group to launder money for a Ukrainian organization. This has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump. Did he even know Donald Trump at that point? Were they like bosom buddies? Was Trump already talking to him? Yeah, it's like, here. Paul Manafort comes to Trump, says, hey, I want to be your campaign manager, in 2015. I want to be your campaign manager. Okay, Paul, yeah, you seem like a decent guy. Oh, wait, Donald, I got to tell you something. 10 years ago, I laundered like tens of millions of dollars with the brother, by the way, of the head of your opponent's campaign for a group that was pro-Russian over in Ukraine. Hey, you still want to hire me? Look, my qualifications are great. That didn't happen. I doubt that Trump knew that had gone on. Even if he did, it's 10 years ago. Trump wasn't involved. It's like the worst thing that happens is that Mueller determines, well, Trump knew and he just sort of turned a blind eye to it. Well, not clear. It's not an impeachable thing. Did it compromise any of Trump's views? Has it compromised his job since he took office? Did it itself break any law even if he knew? No. As far as I can tell, I don't think it would. Again, not that I believe that. There's like a 99% chance that Trump was in the dark too. The only thing I can think of is that Manafort did finally tell him when it became a pertinent issue and Trump fired him. And that's why he replaced him as campaign manager and then said, well, I'll do you a solid and not go public with this, but you're probably fucked. Here, let's arrange some payments. I'll try to bail you out if I can, dude, but, basically shut the fuck up about this. You wouldn't like the results because they're going to be gunning for me because the deep state wants to keep up its swamp. Now, Manafort should be in jail so that he's not tampering with the investigation. Look, the worst thing that can happen, by the way, with Trump is that Manafort and others are tampering with things, making it look like Trump is orchestrating something. Trump's probably happy that Paul Manafort's in a jail cell right now. Not really a cell, more of a room that he's not allowed to leave 23 hours a day. Yeah, that's the way that it works. But you've got to understand that the initial charge has nothing to do with Donald Trump. People are like, oh, Trump is going to be impeached this time. It's like, this is Paul Manafort. The Mueller probe has become the Manafort probe. Manafort appears to be the linchpin of an international sort of criminal syndicate of some sort. It appears that Manafort has orchestrated all sorts of crimes, and still trying to do so, along with some of his contemporaries, but is Trump involved? Is there any evidence of that? I would think that if Mueller had anything tying Trump to the greater concept of Manafort as a criminal, I would think he already would have said that by now. It's obvious he doesn't like Donald Trump. It's obvious Trump doesn't like him. Wouldn't he want to say, smack him in the cock and say, "Oh yeah, we've got a lead on Donald Trump, people. Don't worry, we're looking into it. We're going to subpoena this and that and the other thing." No, I think that with him attempting to get like all the wireless device, like the phones and email records and shit from Trump's people, he's trying to figure out if anyone else in the Trump organization was working with Manafort. By the way, a sane thing to do. If you know that Manafort was laundering money and he's working out of Trump Tower for some time, you would want to look into that. It just doesn't mean that there's any guilt, though. That's the point. No, Trump is going to escape unscathed. He did not collude with the Russians. I believe him fully. That is fake. And it's being drummed up by people in the corporate media and political partisans that don't like him. But Mueller's not even talking about that. Mueller's busy firing on Manafort at the moment, making sure he goes to jail. A federal judge puts him in jail, violated the condition of his bail. Well, he did. I don't think it's part of a conspiracy. I think that Manafort is a shifty character. Trump probably didn't know about it. He's working with the Podestas. He has to be a shifty character. Look at who the Podestas associate with. People like Hillary Clinton. There you go. That's about all. Peace out.